Here is an example of how a resume can be set up. This resume is intended for an administrative position. First, you start with a heading, for example, resume. Some choose to use their own name as a headline, which is also perfectly fine. The first part of the resume is personalia. As you can see, all headers are marked in gray background. A study from the United States shows that it is much easier to find information when headings are marked this way. Personalia is contact information such as name, address, telephone and email, but also other information such as date of birth, marital status, and number of children, as well as information on driver's licenses, hobbies and which languages you master, and to what extent one knows these languages. Note that the phone number is formatted in a way that makes it easier to read. The next point on the resume is key qualifications. These are formal and informal qualifications, skills, and personal qualities that you believe are relevant to the job you are applying for. The key qualifications are set up in a bulleted list, as this is more clear than using sentences and paragraphs. Remember to position your qualifications based on the position you are applying for. Now you have come to your education on the resume. Include both completed and not completed education. When it comes to courses, these should be placed in another place on the resume. Education is presented in 3 columns, where the first column is the name of the school, the second column is the title or name of the field of study, and the third column is the period of time the education was completed. Present education in reverse chronological order. That means you start with the last thing you've done. You are now ready to fill in your professional experience, or what we call work experience. Work experience is presented in 3 columns. Notice that these columns are aligned with the columns of education, making the resume look neat and structured. These 3 columns are the name of the employer first, then the job title and a few keywords that describe the content of the position, and finally the time spent working with this employer. If you still work for an employer, you leave the to date blank. Notice that I use only the year and not the dates when presenting the time spent. This also helps to make the resume more clear and orderly. At the same time, you may be able to cover some gaps in your history. When it comes to work experience, you also have to include any permanent work you have had, as well as other work such as part-time and on-call jobs. If you do not have a lot of work experience, then you can also bring military service, summer jobs, and deployments from school. As education, work experience is sorted with the latest presented first. If the resume is on multiple pages, then it is recommended to enter a footer with page numbering. Format this in a way that says something about which page is displayed and how many pages it is. When you have a resume with multiple pages, then you should use headline to enter your name. Remember to check for a special front page in the formatting of the header. If you do not, you will get the same header on page 1, which may not fit with the design and layout of your resume. In the Courses and Certifications section, enter what you have of courses and certificates that are relevant to the job you are applying for. Formatted in 2 columns. The first column includes what kind of course you have taken and at which course organizer you completed the course. Here you can also add the duration of the course, for example 40 hours or 2 days. In the second column, enter the time for the completion of the course. The time is presented with only the year. If you have other qualifications or skills that you want to bring up, then you can make a point called Other Qualifications. Here you can give a brief description of what qualifications you have with the help of a bulleted list. Another point that should be included in the resume is voluntary work. This is set up in a bulleted list in 2 columns. In the first column, enter the name of the organization as well as what kind of role you have. In the second column, enter the time period. Use full year here as well. It is up to each individual how much information and what information is presented on the resume. By being a little creative, one might be the one who stands out a bit from most others, and as, for example, a point about working methodology could be presented on the resume. The last point on the resume is references. These are presented in 2 columns, the first column containing the name of the reference, as well as the role and name of the company. In the second column, enter the phone number. Note that the phone number here is also easily formatted. This is one way to build your resume, and the final result will look like this.